Part 59. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 597. 144 inscriptions of the first order elements, 48 inscriptions of the middle order elements, and the inscriptions of 16 high order elements. The arrangement and combination can have almost infinite changes, even if it is based on the calculation and derivation ability of Zaiwei and Zero. It is also impossible to exhaust all the changes to combine elemental spells. However, Zaiwei does not need to use such a mechanical and clumsy method to deduct the spell. He is the inscription of the element, the great creator of the elemental school that has become more systematic. Mastering the mystery of the ether, it is easy to complete the mutual transformation between the four basic elements at the time of casting, which makes the elemental spells of Zaiwei's display more unpredictable and powerful. Zaiwei used the spirit to control the time of manipulating the red. The spells he applied were exactly one of his recent performances, which can be approximated by the legendary spell Phoenix Impact of the Nine Rings. The spirit of Zaiwei is the Phoenix, so the ultimate spell of all fire elements is almost related to the avatar of the Phoenix. The Phoenix Impact is the product of this concept. When the spell model over the Red Heart Lake was completely illuminated by the magic power, the horrible magical fluctuations quickly emanate from her body. The air seemed to boil, and the red sky was burned into a dazzling red. The red illusion that rivals the cyan giant bird is gradually becoming more real. The red devil, the red-winged golden owl, made a cheerful roar. Its instinct found that the master's magic is more active, as if he had acquired the essence, the sublimation on N. This spell is unprecedentedly powerful. The red illusion above the sky has finally become a reality. The hurricane set by the cyan giant bird has finally been washed away. The sun above the sky has draped the dazzling golden beam of light. Half of the sky seems to have turned into a sea of fire, a purely hot. The flames of life stretched out her golden and red wings, and they made a bright and crisp tweet. This voice rang as if it was in everyone's heart. All the witches in the three towers, as well as the king's guards and maids in the winter palace, looked up to the sky and pinned all hope. I hope the great first red adults can defeat the enemies. The whole body of the red is shaking slightly. Although the body is still in the control of the enemy, the red still fully experiences the casting process of the whole spell. What a perfect spell! Compared to the legendary spells that you can use, the pure energy builds into the minimum requirements of the Nine Rings spells. It is like a child waving a sledgehammer, swaying and swaying to control the feeling of trepidation. This spell is completely protected. This perfect flame elf and red flamingo, as instinctively cast this powerful legendary spell. The next moment, the flame phoenix on the sky waved its wings, rushing toward the cyan giant bird, as if the fire knight who launched the charge, brought a radiant flame trail above the sky, as if there was more in the air. A fiery ribbon, everyone rounded their eyes and looked at this miraculous scene, even if it was a sin that could not be forgiven. Red and green, fire and wind, the power of two completely different elements collided together. The sky is like a big dying house, it has become a colorful color, intertwined with beautiful and rare scenery. However, the violent conflicts that people expected did not happen, and the wings of the flame phoenix and the cyan giant bird were intertwined and surrounded by the clouds. I am the messenger of the arcane, bringing you new magic and power. From now on, the glory of the arcane will cover you. The era of great change is coming. The sound of Zaiwei Qinglang sounds through the sky and the earth. Dozens of copies. The inaugural issue of Arcane was surrounded by the blue wind and sprinkled from above the clouds. The wind gradually subsided, and Zaiwei was planning to leave. However, at this time, the white towers of the three towers shone with dazzling brilliance, and an old woman who was covered in a white fluffy cloak appeared. Here, her dry hand clasped a cold and icy ice crystal wand, and her eyes sparkled with dazzling magical light. Since it is here, please leave it. The most durable and powerful white-handed staff in the three had slammed the earth, enough to pierce the icy chill of the bone marrow. Going to the ice road above the sky, the cyan giant birds above the sky swept away. In this regard, Zai Wei is not shocked. Elemental magic in the mainstream magical field of Orient has long been weak for many years, but did not expect the witches of the North Witch Council actually rely mainly on elemental magic to fight. But if you think about it, you can understand that the witches also have their own magic theory and inheritance, although they are constantly absorbing the latest magic knowledge from the magic center of the Orient continent, but in order to maintain the centuries in Rui the sacred lofty status and de facto rights of the kingdom of Shakespeare, they strongly reject any man's contact with magic, and they are shackled and sacred, and some ancient knowledge and magic that should have been thrown into the as a sacred and inviolable inheritance. Witches are born to be able to perceive the variability of magic awakening spelling ability. They are also the source of the inheritance of the earliest warlock family in human beings. Therefore, the elemental school, the closest element to the magical power, has become the best magical weapon for the North Witches. However, Zai Wei, who has an insight into the mystery of the ether, has far exceeded the witches in the elemental school. Although the White Leader has already achieved legendary spellcasters for hundreds of years, her spells are hard to cause too much for Zai Wei. Trouble. In addition, Zai Wei has a bigger discovery, that is, next to the White Head, the edge of the White Tower still stands a young witch. She should have been kneeling in front of the window to watch the battle between herself and the Red. She lived in the attic of the White Tower. At this moment, she was suddenly exposed to the outdoors. She was not afraid at all, but she was curious and looked closely. Cyan giant bird above the sky. Zai Wei's perception of the elements has been keen to the extreme, so he discovered the special features of the little witch in front of him. Although she still has human form, it is almost the embodiment of ice and snow in the world. This is pure. When you reach the ultimate source of strength, you can freeze all the ice around you. This purely ultimate source, Zai Wei has only seen in two people, that is, the incarnation of the first note of the Orient world, the master of music Sophie, and the first in the world of Orient Light Lord of the Morning Eulizia. However, the little witch in front of her is still so tender and fragile. Although her ice and snow origin is pure to the extreme, it is far weaker than the two demigods. Zai Wei can be sure that this little witch is a potential half-god, but not half-god, is enough to stand on the top of the world. For Zai Wei, this is the best gift that God has given him. A sacred existence with a demigod and even a god's origin but no resistance at all is the most helpful for him to explore the mysteries of demigods and gods. The perfect assistant, its importance is even less than the ether ball. Zai Wei, who had already planned to leave, suddenly turned around. He waved the wing of the sky and swooped down from the height of the sun. The huge shadow shrouded the three towers of the North Witch Council and the Winter Snow Palace, causing countless people's screams. Scream. The legendary spell of the first White Singer, the road to silence and freezing, failed to hinder this horrible giant bird that fell from the sky. It is harder than steel, and the icy road that is colder than the cold ice is almost whistling. Under the impact of the blue hurricane, the moment collapsed, and the vast magic that was condensed was instantly shattered and dissipated. The defensive law of the White Tower has risen abruptly. The white hand holding the extremely cold ice stick has already appeared in white because of excessive exertion. This is a provocation and declaration of war against the entire North Wall Witch Council, so arrogant and arrogant. Defend the enemy, you must be sanctioned. However, the blue wind was so swift. Before she finished the second spell, Zai Wei had already landed at the top of the White Tower. The right-handed claw of the clear wind directly grabbed the little witch on the edge of the White Tower, and then walked away. From the beginning, almost speeding away at the speed of light, leaving only a blue stream of light in the sky. There are only 5 hours left in August. If the monthly ticket is not invested, it will be void. Give it to me. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 598. Seeing the envy of the enemy, the face of the Whitehead is like a dead body. Oh, no, my daughter Scarlet, she was taken away by the big bird, in the Snow and Winter Palace." The queen burst into tears. King Ivan was not as sad as his queen. He just watched the cyan giant bird disappear into the sky, and he sighed with a complex mood. "Ivan, our daughter was taken away by the monster. Why are you so indifferent?" the grief-stricken queen began to yell at her husband. "That's not a monster, but a powerful legendary caster, the ruler of the kingdom of Res." The owner of the Winter Snow White House responded calmly, "The three heads of the North Witches' Parliament are legendary casters, but this mystery the master can beat the two first seats, he must be stronger. Look around, the earth-shattering battle, except for a hurricane that brought the flowers and fallen leaves, what loss? There is no one who bleeds." Ivan's words finally calmed his queen. "Perhaps, as he said, it is a messenger who spreads arcane. Our daughter Scarlet has awakened her abilities since she was 3 years old. She can freeze everything she can reach, the bread water table or even the entire palace. Even if it is the Northland Witch Council can't help Scarlet alleviate this. She can only be detained on the magical array of the White Tower and use the energy of the elemental pool to fight this ability." From the age of 3, Carrie became a prisoner. She could only stand at the top of the White Tower. Through the small window in the attic, and we looked at it, we had already lost this daughter. But now, maybe one day, with the help of this mysterious and powerful magician, our daughter can restore normal people and even master this horrible power. The queen finally recovered her calmness. She combed her scattered hair and looked at the direction in which the blue giant bird disappeared. It didn't make any sound for a long time. At the moment, the headquarters of the entire North Witch Council is filled with a scent of chill. In addition to the inaccessible Qing Shao, the 2 white and red witches and the 12 masters of the magic masters gather in the White Tower. Australian inaugural issue, the first white opener opened one of the books with dry hands. 10 of the tops of the Arcane inaugural issue have been dropped, and now they have all been collected. Seeing the first preface, the Whitehead's body trembled fiercely, because the name of the landing was so familiar. One of the greatest magicians of the whole of Orient, the 5 Laws Change Master Victor Hugo. The White House originally suppressed the resentment to the ultimate heart, but suddenly relaxed at this moment. She turned to the second preface. The author of the signature is still as good as the ear, the founder of the mechanical school, the last legendary magician in the past 100 years, the 7th the law constructs the Emperor Daedalus. The 2 legendary magicians who have almost no communication at the same time preface the title of this arcane, which is what a privilege. At this moment, all the anger in the white heart seems to have vanished with these 2 great names, and she turned to the opening message. The first magician of the human being, Merlin, has learned magic from the elves for a total of 2,600 years. From the original elemental school, magic has gradually developed a protective space, and the mainstream school of the death spirit calls for change and the mind. The magical building has been built, and it seems that only the final decoration work is missing. However, the magician's inheritance system still has its essential flaws. The cost of acquiring knowledge is so expensive, the inheritance of knowledge is inefficient, and even faults often occur. In the end, I will propose a new idea, that is, arcane. What is arcane? Arcane is to explore the world, try to sum up the law from the phenomenon, and then use these laws to deduct other phenomena. When magic becomes an open and applicable discipline that can be passed down, it can be called arcane. The arcanist is the person who inherits the arcane spirit of the arcane concept, explores the unknown mysteries of all fields, and continues to develop magic and advance to a more brilliant future. The Arcane Journal was born on this concept. This journal will serialize all new discoveries and new explorations in the field of magic, providing a channel for all magicians to learn new knowledge. Zai Frost, on the sacred calendar year. What a forward-looking vision, how broad-minded. The Whitehead is almost unbelievable, and someone will be willing to disclose such valuable knowledge to the world without any price. To know that for the magician, the phrase knowledge is power is an unchanging truth. In the following table, the title, authors and corresponding page numbers of the 21 papers appeared. The first white spot. First notice the exploration of the nature of the species of origin change by Dr. Victor Hugo and the Dizola. The distance between the world legendary caster and the legendary magician outside the door. The legendary magicians of the two titles did not hide at all. In their respective papers, some of the legendary spellcasters of this level of white is also the knowledge and mystery of the treasures that they dream of. Priceless treasure. The white hand holding the start of the arcane is shaking. No magician can touch the book without touching it. Holding the book seems to hold the truth and hope. White first seat. For the young redhead, the white first seat is the highest commander of the three first seat, and she was a mentor. For such a short time, the huge change in the white head, she finally could not help but expressed. Curious and doubtful. The arcane is very valuable, the first white singer brewed a bit, and the conclusion was made, everyone sitting can take an arcane back to study and study. After 3 days, we will have another meeting. The words of the first white seat are the highest order. Everyone picks up an arcane and scatters, leaving only the red head. Do you mean that the cyan giant bird used the mystery to control you and then cast an unprecedented legendary spell? The face of the white head finally showed a smile. I know who this smashing guy is. Zyway Frost, the magician holding the stars, published a total of 7 papers in different fields in the inaugural issue of the Arcane. In addition to the legendary magicians, he was only able to take it away from me so easily. Princess Scarlet. The Princess Scarlet will not be in danger, Redhead said with some concern. Zyway Frost has established a magic school in the Western Gold Sea. One of his greatest features is that he is a good teacher. It is also estimated that Scarlet's special ability is to teach this poor child. Sighed, this is good. After 9 years have passed, we still have no way to Scarlet's abilities. Give this hot trouble to Frost. The 2 first adults, the king of the Winter Snow Palace, want to summon. A waitress came to report. Red, go, tell the king and queen the peace of mind, Princess Scarlet will not be dangerous. Bring this Pi daily with an introduction to Frost. The White House handed a newspaper with a colorful cover to the redhead. It was the 4th period after the revision of the Pi daily. The Zyway incarnation of the Japanese elf master held the stars, the special effects and the full force. In the Winter Palace, King Ivan and the Queen solemnly received the redhead, and after receiving the same judgment from the North Wall Witch Council, even the king, who had been confident before, was relieved. The Queen has picked up the colorful Parley newspaper and screamed loudly after turning to the 2nd edition, is the horrible cyan giant bird just like this young and handsome Japanese elf? This Zyway master likes to open a magic school. It should be based on our daughter's excellent magical qualifications. I want to teach her to point her. His Majesty patted the Queen's back. In this way, we are not afraid of the daughter's contact. It's a good thing to be thankful for, at least Scarlet is not in the hands of any evil magician. Little girl, are you not afraid? Zyway, who is still in the form of Kunpeng, is swimming in the clouds. He is flying at a slower speed than Blue Dragon Lannister. He has left the North Sea and flew away from Ruisha in a short time. The borders of the kingdom, chasing the sunset, flew to Copenhagen in the west. The little witch wearing a luxurious robe is staying in the giant claws built by the breeze. The top of the head is the golden sky reflected by the setting sun. It is surrounded by a cloud of white, gray and black, and overlooking it is an endless ocean. Not only did she not cry, but she did not even have a little fear. Instead, she looked at the completely different scenery with a pleasant smile and felt the new world of freedom. Why are you afraid? The little witch responded, I have a name, don't call me a little girl, my name is Scarlet. Big Bird brother, what is your name? I have a name, don't call me a big bird brother, my name is Zyway. Zyway learned the tone of the little witch Scarlet. Ha ha ha, Scarlet gave a silver bell-like laughter. This is the first time she has experienced the feeling of freedom since she was born. This kind of light dance is so free and happy. Well, genius is always different, and 11 Wei has no choice but to think of it. When 11 Wei chased the entire three magics of the setting sun, he finally came to the peninsula of the Danish self-governing left, the last place in the trip before dark. Zai Wei lowered the cloud and changed into the appearance of the Japanese elf. Once again, he wore the luxurious and elegant to the ultimate magical gown with shining stars. This form is obviously not discriminating because he is too young. Xavier brother, you are really not a bird, but an elf, Scarlet said. Zai Wei is too lazy to correct the misunderstanding of the little witch. He carefully looked at the little witch, white blonde hair, white and soft to the ultimate delicate skin, fine black eyebrows and a pair of black jewel-like pure and innocent eyes. Very cute. Learning in the North Witch Council for so long, are you a few levels of witches now? Zai Wei whistled. A sparkling, luxurious carriage with the violet logo was summoned, 8 crystal-like horses the wing of the repair, coming from the distant sky. I am stupid, I can't learn anything. Now even the first level witch is not, Scarlet whispered and whispered. Zai Wei took her cold little hand and took her to the luxurious and comfortable carriage of the magical Pegasus. The carriage rushed up and headed for Copenhagen city in the distance. Scarlet felt her hand fall into a warm and powerful palm, as if sitting by the fireplace, warm and warm. Zai Wei had to maintain physical contact with Scarlet, otherwise her power from the depths of the soul would quickly freeze all the objects it touched. Ice and snow energy belongs to the variation energy of water elements in the 4 basic elements. Like lightning energy, it belongs to a very characteristic appearance, but it still belongs to the category of elemental school. Zai Wei can proudly say to look at the entire continent of Orient, at this time only the master of the mystery of the ether, can use the transformation between the elements, to inhibit the scarlet continues to spread all the time. The power of ice and snow to resist this horrible power. Zai Wei and Zero have already begun to perceive Scarlet's perception and research. She is simply the most perfect treasure, and has an unparalleled role in the deeper mystery of the elements of Zai Wei. Scarlet curiously looked around in the carriage, and the unique charms in the carriage attracted her attention. After a long time, Scarlet made a cry of surprise. This carriage was not frozen by her. The little witch remembered that Zai Wei took her all the way for so long and was not frozen. This seems to mean that she will hope to live like a normal person. Scarlet's pure and innocent eyes looked straight at Zai Wei, but did not know what to say. Scarlet, Zai Wei clasped the little witch's cold hand and asked softly. Mr. Zai Wei? What happened? Scarlet blinked. From today, you will follow me to learn magic. How? Zai Wei said in the most gentle tone. Okay, okay. You are more powerful than the white grandmother and the red ant, and you are definitely a better mentor, Scarlet said, and she said that the child is unrealistic. Very good, then you are my 6th apostle. Zai Wei showed a happy smile, and love and justice are the most powerful weapons. The 6th apostle? Why? Scarlet asked, looking up at her head. My first apostle is Meryl. Sylvia clasped Scarlet's hand and began to tell her a story, as well as the legend and glory of the violet. The carriage is running fast in the dark, and the distant city of Copenhagen has already seen the bottom of the eye. To be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 599. There are 2 major trading cities in the mainland, the commercial capital, one of which is Venice on the Golden Sea. The merchants of Venice almost monopolize the business of all the countries along the Golden Sea. It is almost a paradise for businessmen. Almost everything can be bought with money, including the freedom of life and the dignity of love. The second commercial capital is Copenhagen city on the North Sea. It was only a small fishing village hundreds of years ago. However, With the rise of the Rothschild family, Copenhagen city became the trading center of the North Sea, no matter the most. The snow-covered kingdom of Riesel in the east is also the country of the mountains of the dwarves in the north half, the Rhine Union of the knights in the south, the French kingdom in the west, and the mysterious island of the sea, the island of the sea, between these countries. The maritime trade is almost through Copenhagen. The city on this peninsula is so prosperous and lively. People from all kinds of dialects who live in various dialects live and trade here. There are also several other kinds of intelligent life races. The blacksmith's shop and bar for the dwarves. However, there is only one of the most spectacular buildings in Copenhagen, the Fortune Chamber of Commerce headquarters in the heart of the city and the Golden Fort of the Rothschild family. This is a splendid castle. The main palace is nearly 20 meters high. The surface of the whole building is covered with gold paint processed with special materials. It looks like a golden light, just like a gold building. Into the castle. When Envy and Scarlet flew into the sky above Copenhagen in a luxury flying carriage, they saw the glittering local architecture in the center of the city at a glance. Ziwei gave the card to the space transmission ring with a positioning mark. Now this sign is located in Copenhagen city. It seems that Kami has completed the arcane promotion work at the United Magic School in Venice. Ziwei found Scarlet with Scarlet. He lived in a low-key and comfortable pub. There was a bard in the pub's hall with a guitar accompaniment to sing a melodious love song. Ziwei School, please sit down, the wine here is very fragrant. The card in the corner lifted the glass in his hand and made an invitation to Ziwei. West Villa and Scarlet came over. He had attached a simple illusion around him, and people nearby could ignore the situation around 5 meters. What is this girl? Asked Jiao curiously. From the North Witch Council, a little witch, her name is Scarlet, is already my 6th apostle, Ziwei said while blocking Scarlet's attempt to pick up the glass on the table. The magician can't be an alcoholic. I'll give you something to drink, the violet strawberry juice carefully prepared by Professor Zero. Ziwei has a bottle of purple-red juice on hand. Although the concentration of this juice is much lower than that of violet ophal, it also reduces the need for use. For magic apprentices, at least 1 or 2 drinks can be added. Standard magic. Scarlet drank with juice and apparently the taste of the juice made her very satisfied. I met 2 magic masters at the United Magic School. They highly valued the inaugural issue of Arcane. They bought 50 copies at a price of 3,000 gold and ordered us to follow up the Arcane journals at the same price. Kamiao opened his hands and made a helpless move, although I know that they will sell at least 3 times when they change hands, but my time is tight, and I can only trade at this price. Very good. 1,000 Arcane inaugural issue. I am afraid that only these 50 books are making money. Ziwei shook his head gently. The promotion of Arcane is crucial. We must make a few journals accurate. Pass to those who need them the most, so a simple sale is not the best option. In Copenhagen, this is not a problem at all. If I didn't guess wrong, the messenger sent by my sister is already on the road. Kami revealed a mysterious smile. Maybe we arrived before we finished this wine. The wonderful predictions were quickly realized. Ziwei had just drank 2 wines, and a middle-aged man in a big red uniform walked into the pub. Harvard butler at the Golden Fort. Is there a distinguished guest here today? There was a whisper in the lobby of the hotel. Obviously, the De Hongbao is very famous in Copenhagen. Ziwei timely relieved the illusion of his body. The middle-aged man saw the card in the corner. He immediately stepped forward. Master K, welcome you back to your hometown. The lady has prepared a welcome dinner at home. Hope you and your friends can be together. Harav's housekeeper showed a signature and friendly smile. Well, no problem, I haven't seen Margaret for a long time. K gave up the glass in his hand and stood up and responded. Outside the door, the luxury carriages of the Rothschild family were docked. 4 horses and white horses were reins, and Ziwei and his party were directly sent to the Golden Fort. Here, Wei saw the luxury of the real rich. The Golden Fort is full of artworks from almost all of the mainland and even a few continents. Everything is linked to history and has its own story and inheritance. Even the waiters and maids are polite and clothed, and they don't see a vulgarity that belongs to the nouveau riche. The Rothschild family, who is in control of the giant chamber of the Fortune Chamber of Commerce, has become a real nobility. Since being the head of the Chamber of Commerce of the Violet, he has been convinced by 11 Wei with his superb ability. He has done a good job in all the arrangements of Wei, and he has done too much to do, and almost no need to do any remedy. However, such a good business elite card was lost to a woman in the family heir competition, and this Margaret was overwhelmingly superior to all other competitors and eventually won the family throne. Soon, Wei saw the true face of Miss Margaret in the same magnificent banquet hall. She wore a burgundy evening gown, and the green hair plait formed a high hair on the top of her head. The bridge of the nose is towering, with eyes, and the appearance can only be regarded as ordinary people. Seeing this moment of Miss Margaret, Wei had to send out a feeling, really a rich man. The necklace on the neck of the Margaret neck, the earrings on the left and right earrings, and the shoes on the 4 rings on the left hand are all magical objects, and they are epic magical objects. Even if there is a Wei in a magical school, there are no more epic level magical objects in the hands of this gold castle. I am afraid that in addition to those legendary magicians, there are some masters who are good at making magical objects. No one can be richer than Miss Margaret. You are the magician holding the stars, the school of Xian of the Violet Academy. The distinguished guest, I am very happy to meet you. Margaret stepped forward, her waist was straight and tall. The line of sight is almost flush with the west. It seems that I already have a very good title, Wei responded politely. It's nice to meet you, Miss Margaret. This is, Margaret saw Scarlet in the hands of 11 Wei, his face showing a thoughtful expression. One of my new students, called Scarlet, said 11 Wei. Scarlet Margaret carefully looked at the pattern and style of the little witch's robes. I remember, Scarlet, the little princess of the kingdom of Res, is said to have a very powerful magical talent, 3 years old. I was sent to the Northland Witch Council to learn magic. Scarlet looked at her woman with her big eyes vigilantly. Who are you? I have never seen you. Few people know me. For the members of the Rothschild family, every piece of intelligence means a valuable asset, not to mention the message of a princess, even though we are not in the shadows, but money is omnipotent. Margaret replied with a smile, of course, for a strong person like the West Victoria School, which is at the peak of the entire world of Orient, there will never be money troubles. Thank you for your compliment, madam, Westway responded politely. Call me Margaret, I am not married yet, although I have passed the best marriage age. Margaret finally turned the topic to the topic. Welcome to Copenhagen. I don't know what can help to your West Victoria School. The magical atmosphere in Copenhagen is very strong, and I have some new ideas to promote, and I brought some books. Wei said frankly, I like traveling very much, seeing different scenery, staying in one place all day it makes me anxious, and that's another reason why I am here. Copenhagen's most prestigious school of magic is the University of Copenhagen, which has existed for more than 1,200 years and is the first university in the world of Orient. Margaret said, the fourth method you taught the theory of summoning school at the University of Copenhagen, which soon became the magical sanctuary of the northern part of the Orient continent. It was only over 100 years ago that it was overtaken by Pi Li. I am very interested in the magical concept of Mr. 11 Wei. I want to come here. The promotion will be successful. Margaret, are you interested in magic? Sci-fi asked curiously. The woman in front of him was just a 3-ring magician, and there was no other professional system power. In the multi-power system of the Orient world exists. In the world, it is hard to imagine that a woman with such a weak personal strength can become the owner of the Golden Fort and the owner of the Fortune Chamber of Commerce. Yes, the more you touch the extraordinary power, the more you know that it is a stronger force than money. Margaret glanced at. But our Rothschild family seems to have been cursed, whether it is the magician knight or the warrior, which road is more difficult than ordinary people. Ziwei suppressed his curiosity and did not go deep into exploring the mystery of the Rothschild family. He was already busy enough, and this kind of quest was not triggered. I can introduce you to the master of Veskaya. She is an 8-ring magic master and a very good magical creature-making artist. She teaches at the University of Copenhagen and is one of the school managers. She has a strong voice. She has a very good personal relationship with the Rothschild family, and most of my magical things are made by her. Margaret continued the topic. Thank you for your help, Margaret. Ziwei took out a color gem and gave it to Margaret. Glamour gem, a small gift, I hope you like it. Just rub it 3 times with your hand. Activation. Margaret took it curiously and activated it according to the instructions of Ziwei. A colorful light instantly enveloped her whole person. Margaret's eyes narrowed and she found that her magical defenses were not activated, and she let go of her heart. Hey, the card that had never been opened was amazed. Margaret in front of his eyes suddenly filled with charm, and even the freckles on his face were so cute that people couldn't help but want to approach and be convinced. Even Scarlet, who has always had a good face on Margaret, has changed her attitude. The tall ant in front of her seems to be suddenly not so odious. Margaret also noticed the changes that have taken place in her body. Even if the colorful light disappears, this effect does not seem to have failed. You can use it 3 times a day. Every time you continue a magic, you can increase the feelings of people around you. Ziwei introduced the effect of this gem. You are a businessman, this gem should be right for you. The glamour gem is realized by Ziwei with in-depth research and exploration in emotional magic. Although it can't make an ugly monster become a fascinating person, it can greatly enhance the charm of a person. Charm gemstones can be used not only for the pursuit of love, but also for businessmen and leaders. Although this gem can only be regarded as a superb level of magical things, the actual value is very powerful, especially for Margaret. Perfect fit. Thank you for your present, I like it very much. Margaret finally showed her radiance to the ultimate smile. Under the beautiful gemstones, this woman with only ordinary people's appearance finally became very exciting. Mr. Shavi, the Rothschild family likes to build good personal friendships with strong professionals, especially the casters of life. Margaret continued, there was a legendary caster and Rothschild. The German family maintained a friendship of 300 years, starting with a small magic apprentice. The Rothschild family was involved in almost every success and progress, and he also gave the Rothschild family many times of help. For the powerful and excellent magician of Ziwei Master, our Rothschild family will be very welcome. As our friend, as long as you have any needs, no matter which aspect, Fortune Chamber of Commerce will try your best to help you lift worry. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 600. This night, Ziwei stayed in the most upscale VIP room in the Golden Fort. The room was huge, and the decor was gorgeous. On both sides of the red carpet, there were 2 rows of maids wearing gauze, each of which was better than the Golden Fort. Hostess Margaret is more beautiful. Ziwei refused the request of these enthusiastic maid services and drove the sorrowful girls out of the room. Originally, Ziwei wanted to give pointers to the little witch Scarlet Meditation, but she was obviously very tired. She just fell into a soft and comfortable bed when she entered the room and fell into a deep sleep. For the Gold Castle's hostess, Ziwei still has enough admiration. It is difficult to imagine a woman can endure the pursuit of beauty. After all, this is a magical world. As the owner of the Chamber of Fortune, Margaret has 1,000 ways to make herself more beautiful, but she has controlled this idea. No matter in which world the merchant has traces of existence, even the endless abyss has many helmers who travel through layers of planes, selling soul crystals and all kinds of magical goods. However, to be able to make the business a degree of cross-border trusts of the Chamber of Commerce, Margaret's rights are probably only one level worse than the emperors or kings of the five great powers of Orient. The influence of Ziwei and Violet at this stage is still somewhat weak. Ziwei holds advanced arcane civilization and is gradually developing a magical industrial system covering all walks of life, while Fortune Chamber of Commerce has the most unobstructed business throughout the continent. Channel. The cooperation between the two sides is undoubtedly a mutual benefit, and the influence of each other is the biggest thing. This is why Ziwei has specially arranged for Kyle to come to Copenhagen. Margaret really is as keen as Ziwei imagined. She obviously noticed that Ziwei, who is like a star, has expressed her high recognition for the inaugural issue of Arcane, and she soon showed it. I have my own strength. Early the next morning, Ziwei met with the master of the University of Copenhagen, Master Weiske, under the arrangement of Margaret. It was unexpected to Ziwei that the master was not a human being but a dwarf. The gnome is not a human being with a short stature, but a very intelligent humanoid race. According to Ziwei, there are not many gnomes, and almost all of them live in the underground gnome. Malinger. The builder of the city is a legendary caster in the gnome, the first owner of the original fire, Gnomalin. In his hands, the original fire played a huge role in the construction of Normolinger, turning Gnomalinger into a magnificent underground city. Gnomoringer is located in the underground of the country of the dwarfs. Therefore, the relationship between the dwarves and the dwarfs is very good. If the dwarves are recognized as excellent blacksmiths and forging masters, the gnomes are born excellent technicians and engineers. The Wiskia master is the most ingenious genius in the gnome. She has produced more than 30 epic-level magical things, which is a very scary number. The master of Veskaya has been over 150 years old, but she looks like a little girl of 8 or 9 years old. Her body is round and her skin is very smooth and delicate. It's nice to meet you, Master Weskia. Ziwei bowed down and performed a standard mage ceremony. Master Ziwei, I already know what you are doing. Copenhagen University welcomes any new magic concept. The style of study here is very open. If your arcane is good enough, you can take root in Copenhagen. The master of Veskaya went straight to the theme. I personally want to be the first reader of the city in the city. Ziwei handed the inaugural issue of the Arcane to the gnome magic master. This book is a very sweet and spiritual enjoyment for any magician who pursues. The master of Weskia soon sank into the arcane. Although she noticed the order of the two legendary magicians, she did not stay here for too long, but her expectation in her heart suddenly rose several times. Levels. The nature of the species origin change school explores the world's legendary caster outside the door of Victor Hugo and the distance from the legendary magician. Author Didala's new field of electromagnetic induction element school. The author of the new field, 11 Wayfroster address analysis witness the era change Anthony recursive experimental magic array increase application principle author Lannister Hugo. In addition to the 2 legendary magicians, 2 legendary spellcasters, and 11 magic masters, the 15 authors of the 21 papers can be said to be the most representative of the entire Orient world of magicians today. The magician in the world of Orient is a relatively rare occupation, and to the level of magic masters and even legendary casters, it can be said that everyone is very unique, and the legendary casters have a very recognizable title. Therefore, Veskaya saw the horrible value of this inaugural issue of the Arcane from this heavy name. What shocked Veskaya is that every paper is not a cliché, but a lot of exploration of new fields and new theories of magic, which means that after the magic system has passed a stable period of nearly 100 years, it begins again. A new wave of change. In the past, magicians did not often write essays. They mastered it, and others would learn to understand if they did not learn. However, in the first issue of Arcane's Magic, each paper pays great attention to the experiment and argumentation. The logic and thorough thinking is like a clear stream, which is completely different from the previous magic knowledge spread. Although Weska couldn't confirm the true value of the inaugural issue of the Arcane in the first place, even if it were just such a loud name listed in this journal, it would be enough for any magician to admire it. Arcane will be open to cooperation with the magicians of the entire Orient world, not just the Tower of the Thousand Laws and the Royal Academy of Magic in France. Ziwei waited until the master of Vescea looked up, this only the real cooperation and communication links began. With the big killer of Arcane's inaugural issue, the negotiations between Ziwei and Vescea and Copenhagen University went very smoothly. The first issue of the Arcane was delivered to the University of Copenhagen, and they will also copy a simple text version for teaching. For the Arcane concept proposed by Ziwei in the opening speech of the Arcane, there is also the corresponding Arcane system. The master of Vescea expressed his approval, and on behalf of the University of Copenhagen, he hopes to join the Arcane Review Committee and participate in the Olympics. The submission of the journals is evaluated and issued. After all the dust settled, Ziwei was invited to give a speech to all magic apprentices and magicians in the University of Copenhagen auditorium. Here, Ziwei looks back and looks forward to the future. He tells 1,000 bright magicians in the auditorium a bright and beautiful magic future. His speech was interrupted several times due to the enthusiastic applause of the audience. Ziwei is here. Through a speech, I have gained countless identities and admirers. 50 copies of the Arcane's inaugural issue were quickly collected by the top of the University of Copenhagen, but a large number of simple transcripts began to spread in the university. Although the authors of each paper are magic masters and even legendary magicians, their papers are easy to understand. Even an ordinary person who knows nothing about magic does not affect reading. Of course, this is exactly the requirement of Ziwei. Although the art published in the future will be more professional and esoteric when the Arcane is really established, let alone ordinary people, even those who are high-level or even magic masters, if not after experiencing the influence of the Arcane civilization, I am afraid it is difficult to understand the thesis of Arcane. Arcane will be the pioneer of Arcane civilization, and will be the most authoritative core of the future Arcane era. With the development of Arcane civilization, a collection of magical journals with different weights and classifications will gradually issued. At that time, I was able to publish an article in the Arcane journal, which is probably the dream of all magicians or arcans. When the Arcane was thoroughly spread in Copenhagen University, the whole university and even the whole city were shaken. The magic has always been like a mysterious grape. It is located in the foggy beauty, and the fog looks like the moon in the water. People love it. Also hate. Many magicians are limited by talent and luck, and can only access the simplest and lowest level of magic, just like the porter of the element, mechanically casts spells. They are full of expectations for the future when they learn magic. However, when they really start learning, the difficulties of the unimaginable mountains overwhelm most people. They want to improve but they can't do anything. This is the status quo of most magicians. However, in the Arcane Journal, there are the most outstanding magic masters and even legendary magicians in the world of the Orient world to share their exploration research and views, especially some cards cannot be further advanced for many years before the high-level magician or magic master. The magicians are just related to the direction or topic of the paper on the inaugural issue of the Arcane, and they have found the way forward from the article. It is just like the light of the road. When Ziwei had not left Copenhagen, there was a card that had been inspired by the master's certificate for 35 years. The magician was inspired by the expansion of the new field of the electromagnetic induction element school of Ziwei, and created his own. The unique master-level lightning spell, completed the test of the master's certificate, was promoted to become a new magic master. This explosive news can be said to instantly stir up the hearts of the entire city of Copenhagen. Countless magicians circulated the simple copybooks of the Arcane journals. The big men who got the exquisite limited edition Arcane inaugural issue also regarded the inaugural issue of the Arcane the most memorable and most valuable collection. When Ziwei entered the city, he was hardly known to anyone. However, when he left, the whole city was insane. Thousands of magicians and magic apprentices huddled on both sides of the road, reluctantly watching Ziwei and several high-level bids from the University of Copenhagen. This change took only 5 days. Respected Master Ziwei, we will attend the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the first Arcane Masters ceremony held on the island in Viola on time, the Associate Academy of the University of Copenhagen School of Magic, summoning the legendary spellcaster of the school solemn promise. The discerning eye can see that the Master of the West Viflores, if the magic master who shines on the comet is the true pioneer of the arcane and arcane system, the two legendary legends personally end the support, but there is no excessive intervening arcane and the management of the arcane division system. Copenhagen has been brilliant, but it has been falling for too long. This is a big event that can change the pattern of the magic world. Copenhagen must firmly grasp the olive branch handed down by the masters of Ziwei. For the Westway master who published 7 very innovative papers in 7 different areas of the Arcane inaugural issue, Heimer has long treated the young and over-specialist as equal or even more respectable. The promotion of the Arcane concept requires more magician recognition, and take the initiative to make changes into this new era. Ziwei's face is filled with a gentle smile. Thank you for the support of Heimer Institute for me and the Arcane. I also hope that Copenhagen can contribute and submit articles in the next Arcane journal. I want to. Heimer showed a smile, and has been seized by the Thousand Law Tower and the Royal French Academy of Magic, so the next step must not fall behind. Immediately after going back, I will hold a meeting to learn the style of the thesis of the Arcane inaugural issue, and find the magicians who are still active in the college or have long been seclusion but have not stopped moving forward. My brother, Meow, you guess what I saw from Ziwei. On the distant high platform, the brothers and sisters of the Rothschild family are witnessing the grand occasion of Copenhagen. A shadow of a legendary magician, Kami curiously replied. No, 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 I firmly believe that Master Ziwei will become a new legendary magician in the near future, but this is not the one that touches me the most, Margaret said with emotion. I am from. He saw a strong sense of mission, as if he was working hard for the fate of the entire world, which is the most precious quality and wealth of life. The era of chaos is coming soon. In the face of the threat of terror, the Rothschild family is sitting on the wealth of the rich enemy, but there is no power to protect this wealth. However, this Ziwei master, as long as it does not fall in the short term, will certainly achieve great achievements. In the future, in the history, it can even be compared with the first Fated. You have dug into the big gold mine, my brother, to be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 601. Although the Tower of the Thousand Laws is located on the Abyss Mountains, there is a large flat land at the center of this mage city. There are a large number of low-rise buildings for the servants of family workers attached to the life of the Thousand Law Tower. At the same time, it is also a paradise for young magicians in the Temple of the Thousand Laws. In the rare time of rest, from the short liberation of the Master Tower's busy life, you can enjoy entertainment in this town. The Comet Bar is said to have been a bar built by the Master of the Elves of the Elven Kingdom in accordance with the most standard elf style. It is full of unique exotic style, with a transcendent atmosphere and deeply rooted in the Tower of the Thousand Laws. The magicians are welcome. Of course, the price of any item here is not so cheap, and only the youngest mages who are the best and most acquainted by the instructors can enter and exit the Comet Bar. Therefore, the usual Comet Bar often has only a few scattered customers. However, in this night, there is a full 8 people in the bar lobby. They all look like very young magicians, 5 men and 3 women. At the center of the conversation was a tall man with silver gray hair. He was about 30 years old, wearing a high-necked gold-rimmed robes with a special complex pattern on his cuffs. Diesel Chief, congratulations on your successful defeat of 85 competitors, won this year's Millennium Star Award. This is a very rare honor, 312 in history, and 1000 French stars the winner, at least also the Master of Magic. A young and beautiful blonde magician sitting opposite him raised his glass in his hand, filled with ice blue moon rose wine, which is a kind of high-end wine that helps the magician to restore his mental strength is worth a lot. Yes, Decel's chief representative, our Rune Tower, has won the championship in this imaginary star, and won the championship. This is the glory of our Rune Tower. Sitting on the left-hand side of Diesel the man quickly followed. Diesel's chief is probably going to complete the promotion of the master's certificate soon. He graduated from the Rune Tower and went to the top of the snow mountain to receive the teachings of the legendary caster. The 7 companions raised their glasses. They were silver grey men and friends of the Rune Tower, Diesel. This time it was to celebrate Dixie's 3-year-old Millennium Nova. The festival won the laurels and gathered. Decel is a very calm person on weekdays. If he doesn't need to say a word, he has a shallow smile on his face. After he and his companions have a cup of Chinese and American wine, this is the only time. With a reserved expression, said, "Yes, I have reached the last moment of the challenge of the master's certificate. Anthony's mentor is more aware of the spell design of my contest. I will also leave the Rune Tower and go to the book of Anthony's mentor. The tower is learning the next step. God, the scholar Anthony is the chairman of the Tyrus-Fal Parliament. The tower is the second strongest magician in the Tower of the Thousand Laws. Decel, you really want to take off this time?" Another young girl's eyes sparkled, and she looked at Decel with a look of respect. "Dizer is really awesome. I am afraid that when we see you next time, you are already a new magic master. After a few years, it is already a legendary caster." Although the touts of a group of friends made Decel a little fluttering, but he did not forget to forget. He waved his hand and signaled everyone to calm down. "I am not the best young magician of the Thousand Law Tower. The tower just had a young female magician who was promoted to the Magic Master and became the 5th Magic Master of the Architecture School. Ah! Who, the magician does not need too much physical strength and melee, and relies more on wisdom and magic. Therefore, the proportion of women in the profession is very high, but even so, in high level and among the above magicians, the proportion of women is just over 1/5. Therefore, every female magic master, even in the magical holy lands such as the Thousand Law Tower, is also very popular, and every high-ranking magician who is expected to break through the master's certificate has countless people looking forward and watching. Christine Phillips, the daughter of Philip Grand Duke, she was only 22 years old, and just promoted to the 6-ring magician a year ago. Diesel spread his hands helplessly. "I know the news. About 10 a few months ago, Christine left the 1000 French Tower to go to the St. Estonba to become a mage group, but did not expect her to complete the challenge of the master's certificate so soon. It is really a sudden rise." Everyone looks at each other. Although the competition of the Thousand Law Tower is very fierce, many magicians will not fall asleep when they don't even use drugs, but few people will choose to take the initiative to leave the Thousand Law Tower, even if they are forced to leave. Because they have a hard time once again set foot in this dreamy city of masters. In the eyes of the magician of the Thousand Law Tower, except for here, the whole world can be said to be a magical desert. Even the Royal Academy of Magical Academy or the University of Copenhagen is just an oasis in the desert. It is a bit too embarrassing for Christine, a person who has taken the initiative to leave the Tower of the Thousand Laws, and can still complete the challenge of the Master's certificate in such a short time. Oh, people are the daughters of Philip Grand Duke. Dagong is the highest leader in the Spania region, and the top 5 in the empire. The last girl with a very chin-faced face disdainfully said, "Compared to us. For those who have magic and hard work, they have everything." The magician does not look at the lineage. In fact, most of the casters are warlocks. Although the warlock's spell list is not as wide as the magician's choice, the difficulty of the warlock's spell casting is much lower than that of the magician, and the difficulty of promotion to the key professional level depends more on the blood itself. Personal learning and hard work are secondary. This is also why many high-ranking warlocks are young people, and most of the high-level magicians are the key reasons for the image of the middle-aged and old people. Therefore, most of the aristocratic casters are warlocks. The proportion of people who are really willing to sink into the study of magic is not high. Most of the members of the Thousand Law Tower are civilians. The 8 people on this table have no surnames. In any case, Christine is already a true master of magic. She is in front of us, enough to win our respect. Diesel said. A fair evaluation. The challenge of the Master's card is not simple to rely on foreign objects or others to achieve, she must understand the power of her own. The little friends were silent. After a long time, the beautiful female magician who spoke first showed a chuckle. Let's change the topic. Disel's chief is about to leave the Rune Tower and go to the Scroll Tower to accept Anthony. Your guidance, this is a great news to celebrate. So the wine table resumed the excitement and happiness again, and everyone sincerely congratulated Disel on congratulations. At this moment, suddenly a shining white electric light passed through the door of the Comet Bar, directly rushed to the top of Diesel, the lightning dissipated, and a thick book with a cover on the star was in Diesel. In the hands. This electro-optical light caused the attention of the entire Comet Bar. Diesel sensed a message on the electro-optical light, which explained to everyone, it is a book that my mentor gave me. After other people turned their eyes on it, Diesel whispered, it is a book sent to me by Anthony's mentor, let me read it carefully during this time. All the small partners are full of envious and hateful expressions. Disel's chief has not yet gone to the book tower. Lord Anthony has already begun to send books. This is not just the relationship between ordinary students and teachers. Perhaps in the near future, Diesel's chief will become a disciple of Bow scholar Anthony. Let's take a look. I really want to see what this book is written. A microfat magician with glasses stretched his neck. After a moment of silence, Diesel finally agreed, this book is called Arcane, strange name, and what does it have to do with arcane crystal? Diesel spread the entire book upside down on the table. The cover of the book spine and the star river on the back are connected into a whole piece. The silver stars are dotted in the dark blue sky, shining, and when you look closely, the Milky Way is flowing, the stars are running, it is like the stars in the sky. Engraved on the cover of the book. The holographic projection technology belongs to Ziwei's reinterpretation of the magical principle in the Orient world. It is also a new initiative. Even the high school students of these 1000-method towers have never seen it. This star map is real. The brightest part of the center is the main material plane where the Orient plane is located. Look, the silver moon above, and this should be the nearest plane from Orient. The country of the beast. The chubby magician came forward with excitement, his fingers pointing on the star map, and almost all the corresponding stars and planes were said. However, with his knowledge, only 1/10 of the stars can be found, but even this part is enough to verify that this star map is the real world. This is really big, the pretty girl said with emotion. In the star map of the cover, the densely shaped dots form the 2 ever-changing characters of Arcane. Just like the 2 real-life constellations, a feeling of height is coming. Diesel placed himself in a sitting position, and he solemnly opened the first page of the book in his hand, and the first sequence of the arcane appeared in front of him. No one urged Diesel to skip the order, apparently they were shocked by the big virtual map of the big hand. The second heavy shock soon appeared, and a sharp voice trembled suddenly, Victor Hugo, is that Victor Hugo? Yes, there is only one Victor Hugo in the magic world, the Lord of Change. Diesel is the right color, even if it is a self-respecting tower of the magician, it will never be underestimated. Change School, the legendary magician who is the highest peak of the magician. In this preface, Victor Hugo spoke highly of the arcane and arcane ideas, and he also highly recognized the creator and the high hopes. The words in the line are not the kind of predecessors who appreciate the younger generation. Equality belongs to the appreciation of road explorers. Although Diesel did not clearly realize this, it did not prevent him from having a preliminary curiosity about the master Sylvester Frost. In general, a book with a sequence is enough, so when Diesel turns to the second page is still a preface, his brow wrinkles, and who is eligible to be with the fifth law preface the book? He quickly got the answer, a familiar name appeared in the end, Dicula, this is the name of the front of the Emperor, compared to the Lord of Change, they are still in the law. The legend of the tower is more familiar. The order of the two legends clearly shocked a table of friends when they saw the opening message of Zyway, they were more serious and accepted. For the concept of arcane proposed by Zyway, although the people have not yet fully accepted the identity, but the chest is filled with an inexplicable excitement, shocked by the grand blueprint and the bright future revealed by the lines. For a time, the entire bar was quiet, and the 8 high school students of the 1005 Towers joined together and began to read the book on the Book of Arcane. The content of this book has never let them down. Every single article of the 21 papers is so wonderful, people can't help but want to make a case. For those who are busy, the Arcane is just a storybook that is very interesting to open up people's thinking, but for the 8 high-level magicians of the Rune Tower, each paper is so thought-provoking. Moreover, the authors of these papers have a great reputation. Dissel also saw the name of Didela, Anthony's mentor, and several other masters of magical techniques. The magician's reading ability and memory ability are very abnormal. Diesel flipped through very quickly, and the clock turned to the last page, but it was enough for everyone in the room to take each of the books. The words are deeply imprinted in my mind. Sorry, I have to go back to the lab right away. The application of the 5 theoretical protection school of the spell model by Master West V. Frost is very instructive to the direction of my master. Diesel picked up the arcane in his hand. A serious face stood up. That's a good time, everyone knows how important the inspiration is for the magician. Although they really want to take a look at this arcane, they can only watch Dissel leave. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 602. It is the golden autumn season. On the plains in the southern part of the French kingdom, large areas of wheat are planted on the flat land. The fruit trees in the orchard have already contributed all the fruits. Finally, the golden leaves can only be boring. In the mud. The weather is very good and the air is very sunny. This kind of weather is very suitable for going out. At this time, the Viscounts of Vincent will ride their own horses and wear neat safari to cruise in their fields and forests. Sometimes when you are in high spirits, you will organize the hunters and young people in the territory to go deep into the mountains to hunt, then return with the full harvest in the afterglow of the setting sun, and then ignite the campfire in the manor's square. The chef Tom will put these wild game. The taste of the grilled squirting oil can make the boys lick the drool. There are only 5 villages in the territory of Viscount Wenson, adding up to less than 2,000 people. The Wenson family's castle has only 2 floors, and even the walls are replaced by wooden fences, without the nobles who spend a lot of money. A literary and impractical decorative building with small warehouses with horse stables and vegetable fields. It can be said to be a standard countryman and nobleman. Viscount Vincent has been over 50 years old. When he was young, he served as a guardian knight near the Count of Alfonso. He was only 30 years old and had his only son, Trees. For this only son, Viscount Vincent has been very worried. Trees' talent on the road to the Cavaliers is not good, he can hardly sense the existence of Chi, and Trees is uneasy from an early age, likes to squat, and sway and adventure, not an honest child who is willing to inherit the family business in the country territory. Finally, the Viscountien Vincent had to succumb to the heart and sent the only son to the Legrand Knights College in Patu, Guangdong, expecting him to learn more skills and insights there. More than 3 years later, Viscount V. Vincent rarely got news about his son. He only knew that he still studied at the Legrand Knights College. It was not bad, but he did not send him a promotion night message. The patience of the Viscountien Vincent has been exhausted, and his body has gradually become less tough than ever, and he has to consider the important responsibility of family inheritance. He sent the last letter to Trees and the check of 20 French gold coins, but did not expect that the last thing to come was a short letter. Trees told himself to learn magic. Just kidding, the Vincent family has passed on 7 generations, but never even an ancestor has a magical talent of 1 star and a half. But Fraser is already an adult in his 20s. His will is no longer manipulated by his father. He resolutely chose this path that seems to be entirely a dream. For Fraser's magician pursuit, Viscount Vincent is full of worries. The magicians he knows are powerful and weird. They often do some strange and dangerous magic experiments. He also helped Count Alfonso. A magician friend collected the cast material, the tail of the black clay gecko in the firefly swamp in the woods. Trees is the only heir and blood of the Vincent family. The older he is, the more he remembers his only son. On this sunny autumn day, Viscount V. Vincent was standing at the highest point of a small hill overlooking the golden fields and forests at the foot, and a new dark green carriage came from a distant road, with the emblem of the Alfonso family. Viscount Vincent was surprised. This narrow road is not a traffic artery. It is only at the end of his own manor. Why is the Alfonso family's carriage appear here? The old Vincent priest rushed down the hill, and the carriage began to slow down, eventually docking outside the largest village in the Viscountien Viscount. The villagers in this village lived by hunting and planting. Many people went out to the village once or twice in their lifetime. The children were curious around the carriage, and other adult villagers also put down the busy things and started onlookers mode. "Sorok, how come you?" Viscount V. Vincent rolled over and cuddled with the knight on the carriage. The white-haired knight was his former cavaliers, a 4th Order Intermediate Cavaliers, just retired 2 years ago. "Old Vincent, I brought you a very good news this time." Sorok happily patted the shoulders of Viscount Vincent. "I brought you your son's letter." "My son's letter? How can I be here?" asked the Viscount Vincent, strangely, that their father and son had been dealing with each other through the postman. "The 3 ladies of the Earl's adult, Marnie, are now studying with your son Trees at a magical school." Sorok sent a hearty laugh. "I heard that Trees is a very good boy at this Violet Academy. Already a formal magician." The Viscount Vincent was hit by a huge surprise in a flash. He knew that the magic apprentices had more average stages than the cavaliers, and his son began to learn magic for half a year. How did he become a magician? Sorok handed a letter wrapped in a thick craft paper to Viscount Vincent. "This is your son's letter. The Earl of the Grandpa specifically told me to send it to you. Earl is very appreciative of Trees. He is us. The pride of the Auvergne region. The carriage is a gift from the Countess. There are some fine wines, and there are other good things. I am here to give you these gifts." What a rare news, Trees. This kid was a naughty ghost since he was a child, and the whole village was full of chickens and dogs. When he was 15 or 6 years old, he became the most afraid of the big girl and the little wife. Demon King. "I didn't expect to go to the king to learn the night for a few years, but now I learned to be a magician." The Viscounts of Vincent and the villagers in the territory had a good relationship. Several hunters often hunted and ate together to eat meat, so they boldly came together. "Let us help the lords to carry these gifts." The richness of the gift is far beyond the imagination of Viscount Vincent. A few £100 of fat cow vats of refined butter, a magic lamp, 3 sets of fitted dresses. Is it true that Trees is a magician? Otherwise, Earl will never give himself so many very useful and valuable gifts. Viscount Vincent was finally unable to control his excitement. Before he entered the manor, he broke open the thick craft envelope with his trembling hands and took out his son's letter. Oh la la la! A lot of colorful pictures fell from the letter, and a gust of wind blew the colorful pictures, and some of them blew far. Along the way, the curious children who followed the carriage quickly dispersed, just like a butterfly, spread their legs and ran on the roads on both sides of the road, looking for all the colorful pictures scattered with the wind. Come back. God, this is a painting. Look at it. This young man in a black robe is Trees. When he was a child, he also urinated on my neck. I can recognize him at a glance, a middle-aged man, the hunter shouted. Show me a quick look. The voice of Viscount Vincent made a few trembles. He ran wildly, as strong as he was when he was young. This is not a painting, but the best-selling magic product camera of the Violet Chamber of Commerce. At least 5 gold coins are needed for one, so that it can print dozens of gold coins, even the count. There are only 3 homes, Solok explained with his hands on his chest. The middle-aged hunter quickly handed the photo to Viscount Vincent. Viscount Vincent saw his son at a glance. He had not seen it for 4 years. He was tall and not too thin. He was wearing a black mage robe and holding it in his hand. A thick magic book that looks full of books, like the magician that Vincent has seen before. Unknowingly, Viscount Vincent is already old and tearful. It is really the ancestors' blessing, the Lord's grace, and Trees is really a talented person, and is the highest-ranking magician. This is for you, Lord. A young man reluctantly handed a color picture to Viscount Vincent, which is the landscape of the Violet Academy, which captures the most beautiful one when the rising sun rises. The photos taken in an instant shocked everyone who saw the photo. All 20 color photos were returned to the Viscount, and Trees' learning and life trajectory was worn like a pearl. Through these photos, Viscount Vincent finally got to know his son's status quo. It is not a sinister mage tower as you imagined, but a picturesque magician school that is more beautiful than the castle of the Earl family. Living there is a paradise. After a long time, Sorok patted the shoulders of Viscount Vincent. Old man, your son is really talented. It is much stronger than my 3 sons who are not good. Viscount Vincent finally came out of his emotions. He wiped his tears with tears on his face with tears. Hey, people are old, tears are crying, I was not like this when I was young. Ha ha ha, I can remember clearly. When the Earl adults organized the cavalry to clear the goblin in the territory, you were blocked by 2 bears in the corner. The crying screaming, the 2 bears goblin can be scared. I just arrived, and a shot from the back pierced the heart of a bear goblin, only to save you back. Sorrows did not hesitate to expose the short of Viscount. The old Viscountcy of Vincent smashed his sleeves. I was only 15 years old, but I still have no adulthood. Then I will cry again later. Yeah, 40 years have passed in a blink of an eye. You are already 52, and I am 55, Sorok said with emotion. A few years of good work, then I will see the children. Trees is really amazing now, and the future is boundless. I would rather he inherit the territory safely, marry a good wife, and have a nest of children. The Viscountian Vincent was still suffocating with Sorok. Your home Trees is already a magician, afraid to find a good wife? How many good girls in the entire Auvergne region are waiting for Trees to pick? Sorok looked at the distance. He has a distance, I whispered in the ear of Viscountian Vincent. The Countess also specifically asked me to inquire about your son and the Vincent family. It seems that Miss Trees and Miss Marnie are likely to come together in the future. The old Viscounty was shocked. Miss Marnie was the 3rd lady of the Earl's family. The earliest year of the Earl's adult is beautiful and lovely. How many family lads are the perfect wife choices? Father, it took a long time to write to you. I am very sorry. The days in Violet are very busy, I have almost no time to rest, and I am fully devoted to magic learning. After half a year of study, I have been promoted to become a formal magician and belong to the best of all students. I have not let you down, father. This is a very good school of magic, a responsible mentor. There are classmates and friends. There are also a variety of novelty and mysterious experiences belonging to the magician. Here is another world, totally different in Wangdu Pai Li, living in a family estate, and I finally found out that this is the best place for me. Maybe you are disappointed, I can't return home to get married in a short time, but my father asks you to rest assured that I will find a wife with common interests and ideals. This time is not too far away. The days in the country are very dull. If I can, I hope that you can come to Violet this winter. I just bought a house in Nanhai town of the port, clean and tidy 2-bedroom, the winter is very warm, the island, the beauty of the scenery is sure to have you seen in the photo. It is a very rare holiday resort. I have been hiding from you all the time, and I have rarely contacted you. I haven't even returned home for 3 consecutive years. The most important reason is that I have been unable to bear to see your backbone and the bones that have begun to bend. Disappointing eyes. This inner burning and roasting makes me unable to calm down and face you. But this year, I can finally straighten my chest, look straight into your eyes, no longer avoid anything. Father, please come to Violet, this winter's birthday, our family together. In this letter with the ticket and route plan, I have already applied for the resident certificate of Nanhai town for you, and everything is ready for you. Love you, trees, the holy calendar year. Old Vincent's eyes were wet again, his vision began to blur, and he could not see the words on his letter. At this moment, all the uneasiness in my heart was finally put down, and Viscount Vincent could finally release the cry, "My son Trees, that is my pride and future." To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 603. In addition to the most famous Change Master, the Royal Academy of Magic in France has 4 legendary casters, including Lannister Hugo and the Institute of Elemental Academy. However, in the 5 French Royal Academy of Magic papers published in this inaugural issue of Arcane, there are 3 magic masters who have not yet entered the legendary field. Although there is still a long way to go from the legendary spellcasters in the personal occupation level, their research on their respective fields is very deep, and the opinions are also recognized by the Change Master and Ziwei. Their papers will finally be on the stage. The original issue of Arcane. Lavoisier is one of them. He is an alchemist and a magician. His paper on Arcane is an in-depth analysis of the casting materials. It seems to be a very simple small subject. The most in-depth relationship and difference between the material energy elements coincides with the theme of 11 Way in the opening message. He categorized and analyzed a total of 852 common casting materials. This is a very complicated and almost clueless work, but Lavoisier's paper is very creative. He is almost a human way to find a distinction between more than 30 kinds of micromaterials, and a preliminary exploration of the elements and magic energy conversion in the process of casting. This paper is also the most appreciated one of Ziwei. Lavoisier, as an 8-ring magic and master and alchemist, also has his own independent mage tower at the Royal Academy of Magic in France. His course is Magic Pharmacy. One is very profitable, but it is self-improving. Strength does not help the course. Although a poor mage is not a good mage, a powerful mage is bound to be rich, but Lavoisier's teaching method is very strange. He almost never goes to any reason, only to tell the students to do freely in a subject, and rarely refers to the results of the review of Ji Sheng. This clueless way of teaching has caused many students headaches, so that the magic pharmacy class in Lavoisier is not so popular. His laboratory assistant is the least of all the magic masters. However, all this was changed a month ago. The Royal Academy of Magical Academy of France came to a group of freshmen, exchange students from the remote West Golden Sea Violet Island. According to the information, these students have less than 2 years to receive formal magic education. A few of them actually started to learn magic by relying on several magical popular reading materials at the beginning of this year. Although they have completed the magic apprentice to formal the transformation of the magician, but still very immature. For these exchange students who just entered the ring, the instructors of the Royal French Academy of Magic did not want to receive it, so the school assistant Ben Shaming finally put a whole 8 people to the magic medicine laboratory of Master Lavoisier. Lavoisier accepted the exchange students very smoothly, although he thought that these people did not play any role. However, 8 young and ingenious magicians from the Violet Academy quickly changed Lavoisier's opinion. Although they took the magical path for such a short time, they obviously accepted a very rigorous system of magical basic education, the mathematical foundation. Very solid, logical, and quick thinking, and not subject to the rules of various rules. After starting the study of magic pharmacy, they almost progressed at a speed visible to the naked eye. It took only 7 days for a second circle magician named Lista to complete the refinement of small vitality medicines. This is a tonic for many students who can use a whole semester to learn a magical and mental power. In fact, not only Lavoisier masters, but also several other mentors are very satisfied with the assigned exchanges of violets. Although they are limited by their level of magicians and are very ignorant, they are diligent and eager to learn. The ability to be broad-handed is significantly different from the aristocratic students of the Royal French Academy of Magic who rely on a variety of magical spells. The school assistant Ben Shaming naturally noticed this. The exchange team from Violet did not have a bad review by the mentor. Instead, there were several outstanding students who even let the high level and even the magic masters move. Disciples' thoughts? And the vice school of the Violet Academy, the younger than 20-year-old black-haired Shen Yang, almost always traveled between the Royal French Academy of Magic and the Changing Tower, and was very appreciated by the Lord of Change. This discovery gave Ben Shaming a new discovery in the other direction to the young and handsome, too much Civ Master, who was not only so powerful in personal magical research and casting, but also in educating and cultivating students. Able. A magician who only likes to study, is lonely and does not communicate with others. Such a magician is not terrible, as long as he is not at the legendary level of the world's peak, then he cannot make too much change to the world. However, a magician who not only can discover new areas of magic, but also educate a large number of disciples, the future value of such a person is far beyond the imagination of man. Ben Shammesh is associated with the Lord of Change. Although the Kingdom of France 300 years ago could not be regarded as a magical desert, there are only a handful of magic masters in the entire kingdom. Until the 8-ring magic master, Victor Hugo received the strong support of the first king, built the Royal French Academy of Magic in Wangdu, and finally created the Change School, the 5th legendary magician of mankind. From now on Parley became the second magician shrine in the whole of the Orient continent after the Thousand Law Tower. Now, in the body of Ziwei, Ben Shaming saw the shadow of Victor Hugo. The difference is that he is younger and the road is smoother. Ben Shaming was fortunate to have been in a good relationship with Ziwei last time and established a certain level of personal relationship, especially after he had just finished watching the entire Arcane inaugural issue. Since doing the school assistant, Ben Shaming's magic research has almost stagnated. However, his heart has stirred up a long-lost excitement and inspiration at this moment. Magic will eventually become an arcane. What a bright future, now is the era. The key moment for change, if you can seize this opportunity, even if the talent is not very good, you may be able to promote the magic master, and even hope to spy on the legendary field in the future. In this way, with a full 1,000 copies of the Arcane inaugural issue, there are more simple copybooks throughout the Orient continent, west to the remote seaside of Spania, the winter solstice Allendale's Northland Witch Council, south to Sicily in the north to Copenhagen. The trend of an era has begun to surge, and the unstoppable trend has swept up. More and more magicians are vying to read this epoch-making magical journal, and the idea of Arcane begins. Enthusiastic discussion and even disputes. Some people enthusiastically recognized the arcane, and began to worship Zaiwei. He thought that he would change the status quo of magic and become an epoch-making great person. Some people will be suspicious and study each paper seriously, but there is a sneer at the wait-and-see attitude of the arcane concept. Think of Zaiwei as a brain burns the mad young man. However, there are a small number of magicians who begin to face up to each specific theoretical viewpoint and research direction proposed by Zaiwei, and begin to face up to the nuances that they have neglected in the process of magical learning and research. The focal length has always been on the spell itself, but it has begun to focus on the depth level that is more about nature and law. Notre Dame de Paris, the most famous and magnificent cathedral in the Kingdom of France, is still in the secluded contemplative room of the backyard, and Anthony Bishop and the Lord of the Morning, Eulizia, is engaged in an important conversation to decide on the future. The Pope in the Holy City issued the command of the Holy Retreat, and withdrew a large number of the finest and most elite pastors and knights from the Rhineland League of Rilly, the Kingdom of Italia, and they have already set foot on the Holy City and the Franconian the road to the face. Bishop Anses said with awe-inspiring face, "Even in our French parish, there are a large number of priests who have chosen to follow the Pope's call. There is no shortage of us who have long been concerned about or even beginning to develop contact, our potential strength lost more than half. Before the glory of the Lord has not really left, the Morning Lord, Eulixia, cannot openly publicize the sectarian policy. Everything can only be carried out in the underground, which obviously limits the size of the organization. After 5 consecutive arrogances and lunatics in the Holy See of Vatican, I finally ushered in a rational Master Eurichia's evaluation of Pope Benton 18 is high, other darkness after the Advent. The Church of the Glorious Lord will inevitably become the first weak giant of all mad dogs and enemies to bite but lose most of their power. Every kingdom is happy with this. The property of the Church of the Glorious Lord has shrunk by a large part. The large area of land has been treated to the kings and nobles at a low price, and even the right to collect the tithe has been deprived. The Bishop of Anthony showed a cold smile on his face. Stupid aristocrats, don't they know that for thousands of years, the Church of the Glorious Lord has stood on the front line to guard this crisis-ridden world, fighting against each only the forces of evil and darkness have brought in the continuous peace and prosperity of the world. They were blinded by their interests, and they couldn't see the crisis at all. Even if they knew that the night was coming from some channels, they still refused to let go because of greed. In this way, the first wave of power in the dark has been long-term planning. The most ferocious blow will fall on every kingdom, Eulixia said calmly. But this also caused us a lot of trouble. Our roots are almost all in the French parish. The king's attitude is very embarrassing. He is waiting for our response. Bishop Ansi frowned. He wants to compile us, completely tied us to the chariot of the Kingdom of France. Olan is a wise monarch, and his personal strength has entered the sanctuary, mastering the power and rights of the world to be the peak of mortals. Eulizia sighed, but this means he also became a huge target. I can only see the raging dark frenzy in the near future, which contains endless horror and evil. This force tries to devour everything and turn the Orient continent into their hunting ground. To meet their endless hopes of immortality. We must wait and see, cannot be tied to the chariot of France, even if it looks so strong. The Lord of the Morning, after the end of the original contract, how many devout believers can you give to the power of light, so that they can still guard our homeland and the world? Bishop Anthas looked straight at the bright saint in front of him. The bright goddess of the future. I don't know. After a moment of silence, Eulixia shook her head in confusion. In addition to Ms Yin, the world of Orient has never borne a true god. Even if it is me now, still there is a huge gap in the gap at that level. I can only grant 1,000 devout beliefs to me. I call my pastors bright power. Most of them can only use the 3-ring magic. If you do, I myself will not be able to continue to condense my true body. If I can't get enough success in a short period of time, then there are only two kinds of consequences, either by the divine spirits of the believers, or by the praying for no response. Abandon the faith. Until now, the Church of the Lord of the Morning, including the Bishop of Anthos, still uses the power of the glorious Lord. Once the original contract is over, it will be a terrible winter. What is even more worrying is that the former Lord of the Glory has always enjoyed the almost endless power of the glory of the Lord. From the extravagance of the martyrdom, the poor supply of power to the future of the Lord of the Morning will inevitably give rise to resentment because of contrast. This kind of resentment is simply a poison for faith. The Lord of the Morning, the power of power, is indeed too burdensome and expensive for you, but to fight against the darkness, we must master the light. Bishop Anthos sighed, the magicians are not gods, but they can master the elements, master the magic, have the power that is almost completely inferior to us. Can they change the source of the power of the pastors, learn the magic by learning, and complete the promotion of personal rank? The point that the priest and the magician are completely different is the key. The priest's magic comes from the gift of the gods of faith, and the master's spells are based on his own analytical learning. The priests can master a new powerful high-level magic in a second, but the magician may take months or even years. On the contrary, if the gods regain their power, the priest's combat power will be seriously shrunk. The suggestion of Bishop Anthos is equal to the cultivation of the pastor's mage, which will inevitably weaken the belief in the Lord of the Morning, and can only be regarded as a solution. To be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 604. My strength is light, and the original light of Orient is me. Ulysses suddenly raised the tone. I can use the energy of light according to my own ideas, but it is like my instinct. I don't know how to teach believers and pastors to learn to use bright energy. Bishop Anthos is silent. For thousands of years, the pastors of the Church of the Glorious Lord have been raising their ranks of professionalism and gaining a higher level of magic and power by virtue of their devout faith and contributions to the Church of the Glorious Lord. However, when the gods who believed in the service left, the pastors found themselves completely in a state of sorrow. For the magical techniques that they had performed thousands of times, the familiar light energy could not be understood at all. There are also a few pastors in history who have tried to resolve the power of the Lord of Glory. Unfortunately, this pastor was soon regarded as a heretical and burned to death on the firearms, warning all latecomers. We have focused on the wizard, Zaiwei, and now it has set off the waves of the sky. In the circle of magicians, Bishop Anthos shifted the topic. He picked up the table and placed an arcane, the inaugural issue. He is trying to integrate the power of some magicians, using the arcane as a banner to manage this part of the power. Obviously, he is very ambitious and very capable, and he is supported by the Lord of Change and the Queen of the Construction. After that, this matter has basically been done. It is foreseeable that Violet will soon become the next magical place of Orient, and Master Xavi is very likely to become the next legendary magician. Every title legendary magician can't be underestimated, Ulysses said with emotion. They are not as long as my peers have such a long life and time, but they are the source of this world power and deep level. The exploration has been very deep, and the same has entered the field of half human and half god. Mage Xavi has been a very shining presence in the entire Orient magician for thousands of years. He is less than 20 years old and has mastered the magic of 7 fields, and at the same time reached the master level. Arcane. The 7 papers on the list are proof. He is very good at analyzing the source of power. The inscriptions he created are very powerful for the element school's spells. Perhaps he is the one that suits us best. The Anthos bishop put down the arcane. But now that he has taken off, we can't manipulate him anymore, we can only work with him on an equal footing. But there is one more thing to worry about. Exploring research on your power source may make the master steal the West. To your glory? But there is no way. My Pope Eunice waved her hand. The other legendary magicians, I am even less likely to open my source to them. Master Civ is the only suitable for this one. The candidate for the matter, in order to grow the Church of the Lord of the Morning, we must start doing this right away, otherwise the darkness will come, and the last opportunity for the development of the Church of the Morning Lord will be lost. After half a month, there will be a grand arcade on Violet Island, and Ziwei will award the first arcane masters. Bishop Anses shook his head gently, but I want to see the secrets from the other 3 archbishops. A lot of people are staring at you, or let me come. Eulizia blinked. I went to Violet Island and had a secret conversation with Ziwei. The wave that started in the inaugural issue of Arcane did not calm down, but it became more and more wild and more vast. The transcript of the inaugural issue of Arcane began to spread from the Thousand Law Tower, the French Huangjia Magic Academy, the Union of Magic School of Venice and the University of Copenhagen at a speed that was too fast to steal. Numerous magicians living in remote corners are madly pursuing this essay journal with 2 legendary magicians and several legendary spellcasters and nearly 10 magical masters. Even if the recognized arcane concept cannot be accepted, the journal itself, every magician is also invaluable. At this point in time, the establishment of the arcane reviewing members on the Violet Island and the meeting of the arcanists have attracted a lot of attention. They have used various modes of transportation to come from the whole country of the Orient continent. I arrived at this remote island on the western Golden Sea. Nanhai town, which has been very prosperous, has suddenly become a lively town. The town is full of outsiders wearing various color mage robes. Ziwei had to let Natalia and her knights from the Smurfs. Returning to Face, temporarily stationed here, guarding the safety of Nanhai town. Zero also established a huge magic surveillance network in Nanhai town to prevent any confusion and unnecessary casualties caused by these huge numbers of magicians. In this way, the entire Violet Island, like a dreamland, enters the vision of these magicians. Compared with their purely functional buildings, the Violet Academy is simply the home of the magician's dream. Many magicians deliberately want to sign up. Studying here is only temporarily rejected. All new students will only be enrolled after the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the conclusion of the Arcane Masters. There were a total of 15 arcane divisions, including the Master of Change and the Queen of the Emperor. They couldn't come in person this time, but they would also be represented in another way. Ziwei is well aware of the reasons for the absence of the 2. For the legendary magician, the entire continent of Orient is like a village. It is definitely not a time to come and go. The 2 did not come in person, just to dilute their influence in the new organization of the Arcanist, and to attribute all glory and authority to the founder, 11 Wei. Ziwei is grateful to Victor Hugo and Didura. Although they have stood at the peak of the whole world, they still have a broad mind and a hobby to bring their younger generations. Otherwise, their own arcane, it is impossible to achieve such a fantastic start. In addition to the 2 legendary magicians, the other 13 arcane masters will all come to Violet Island, including the famous bow scholar Anthony, Blue Phantom Lannister, even in the whole of the Orient continent. Hugo, 2 legendary spellcasters, and 6 magic masters from the Thousand Law Tower, including 3 magical masters from the Royal Academy of Magic in France. Not only that, the deputy dean from the School of Magic at the University of Copenhagen, the legendary caster Hemer, and the master of Vesca, the master of the Gudita from the Union of Magical Sciences in Venice, the first and second from the North and West Witches' Council, came to the Violet, where there are 5 legendary casters and 2-digit magic masters. It can be said that the whole Violet is rotating around this event. Ziwei invited the most distinguished 5 legendary casters to live in their own Violet Castle. Other magic masters are also in the single-family villa in the center of the college. After returning from the University of Copenhagen, Ziwei has been working hard to build the headquarters of the future Arcanists organization. According to the vision of Ziwei, since it is an arcane master, of course, to live in the floating city, the headquarters of the Arcanist is of course the city of the sky. However, the gravity of the world is not so easy to reverse. For thousands of years, no city has ever been able to fly away from the center of the earth and fly into the clouds. Ziwei had to put this idea down for a while, but he still used the corresponding nebula style when building the Arcanist headquarters, and designed this small-scale Arcanist headquarters into a very unique and shining building. This remote island has never been so lively today. Ziwei made Charlotte come out at the right time, inviting the magic masters who will become the first arcane masters to give speeches in the auditorium of the Violet Academy. As the base camp of Ziwei, Violet Academy first became popular here. Any magician, including magic apprentices, even if you just started to meditate on the magic apprentices who shaped the heart of the lake, a copy of the arcane copybook, any of them a paper, looks like a fascination. Reminiscent of the arcane points that existed very early in the Silver spell list, the students of these Violet Academy all boiled up, and they will be full of expectations for the Violet event that will soon be opened. The birth of the first arcane masters in Lent. Every arcane master who is about to be awarded is at least a master of magic. Whether in his own professional field or elsewhere, he has enough accumulation behind him. He also gave a warm response to Ziwei's invitation. One person a day. The master's speech made the auditorium of the Violet Academy full. The teachers and students of the whole school are almost here, knowing that this is the speech of the master of magic. The incompetent magicians from the field also strongly urged to be able to attend the speech. Finally, the Violet Academy had to open a quota of 100 people a day for them to enter the auditorium. In these few days, Violet Fortress has almost become a place for several legendary spellcasters to exchange their experiences. Several night elves have reopened the work of the maids, and they have to stop the tea every day, and listen to the communication of several legendary spellcasters. On the last day before the conference was about to open, another legendary caster came to Violet Island, the chief of the Venice United Magic School, Cesare Galli. The Venice United Magic School apparently underestimated the specifications of the Violet event, they only sent a master of magic in Gouda. But when the magician really arrived in Violet, he took the wax. The legendary casters of the Thousand French Tower, the Royal French Academy of Magic, the University of Copenhagen and even the Northwich Council were not even invited by the president of Sci-fi. In the Violet Castle, does this mean that the Venice United Magic Academy is one level lower than other places? Therefore, Cesare Guri, Dean of the United Magic School of Venice, quickly stopped the crucial magic experiment in his hands. He is a member of the most powerful Galli family in Venice, and now the 8 generations of the Galli family patriarch ancestor, the founder of the Union of Magic Schools in Venice. This Cesare Guri is really a long-sleeved dancer. Like a businessman and a nobleman, he has more than a magician. In a short time, he has a close relationship with the other 5 legendary spellcasters. The endless stream of gifts is even more. Several night elf maids are very happy. As time went by, on the 7th day, the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the meeting of the Arcanists was finally opened, and the headquarters of the Arcane Masters, which had been shrouded in mystery, was about to be unveiled. In the early morning of this day, Ziwei woke up very early. He dressed up, a rare moment. Charlotte and Natalia woke up even when the sky was not bright. 2 women dressed each other in the vanity mirror, of course. Mainly Charlotte is doing it, Natalia is so skillful to help. Ziwei did not wear the iconic luxurious silver magic robe today, and it did not change into a dazzling Japanese elf form. At his current level, these external linings are no longer needed. Dressed up Charlotte and Natalia are so shining, they are already the most perfect and most beautiful in the world, and today they are beautiful to the extreme, so that anyone can see, people can't help but be dazzled. Today's Violet Festival has a full 6 legendary casters and more than a dozen magic masters, and there are thousands of teachers and students from the entire Violet Academy and magicians from all over the world, but today's protagonist there is only one, that is the Master Ziwei. He is the creator of the Arcane Journal, the initiator of the Arcane Concept, the chairman of the upcoming Arcane Review Club, and the first aerobics. Although he is only a master of magic now, everyone including 6 legendary spellcasters dare not underestimate him. He used the 7 papers in Arcane to convince these legendary casters. He is even more. I used to use my powerful magic to positively suppress the 2 legendary heads of the North Wall Witch Council. The Arcane Division headquarters is located in the highest elevation of the Violet Island, next to the Plane Transfer Center. CCCC. The surrounding hills have already turned into a flat high platform today. Countless people expect the Arcane Division headquarters to appear in the public for the first time. As everyone knows, Sylvester Frost is not only a powerful magician, but also a best-selling author, music master, and architect. Once the island of Violet was just a remote and desolate island, it has now become a beautiful and prosperous sea paradise, the next magical holy place in the future. Whether it is Violet Castle, Violet College, or Nanhai Town, it is full of dreamy charm and has impressed countless outsiders. When the time came to the 9th magic in the morning, the silver-violet light curtain that enveloped the outer layer of the Arcanist headquarters slowly dissipated, and the Arcane Division headquarters finally appeared in front of everyone. Wow! I can't believe it, this is the first impression of almost everyone. What a dreamy building in front of the building. If the Violet Castle is a fairytale dream, then the Arcane Division headquarters is a dream of a strong future style. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 605. Like the white flashing light of the nebula, it flows in the blue transparent crystal. This is a nebula-like tower. Walking in it is like walking in the stars. It is named the Morning Star Tower. After disguising the Morning Star Tower, there are 9 layers, corresponding to 9 different Arcane Division levels. Each layer uses space compression spells. The appearance looks very small, but the inside is very wide, including a large number of functional buildings. Ziwei and Zero used the time of half a month to complete the construction of the Morning Star Tower. The main material used was the crystals from the carefully extracted and processed sludge of the Smurfs. Let's board the top floor of the Morning Star Tower and start this meeting. 11 Wei appeared in front of the tower, Bow Scholar Anthony Blue Phantom Lannister, the new construction magic master. There are also 9 other masters from the Thousand Laws Tower and the Royal Academy of Magic in France who follow the Westville and step into this attractive tower. The first floor lobby is very spacious, and the empty space is like the dark and dead space of the Milky Way. At the center of the hall is a rotating white star cluster. This is the central transmission array inside the Nebula Tower, which can lead to the tower. Each layer. The pedestrian walked into the cluster and clearly saw that the surrounding clusters were still rotating in accordance with the established trajectory. This is a very novel experience. Ziwei launched the transmission array and brought everyone to the 9th floor of the Nebula Tower. It is already very high here. Under the feet of everyone is a flat blue transparent crystal floor. A dazzling white star flash is passing through a crystal channel. The whole space gives people an inexplicable shock. It can be said that the people who boarded the 9th floor of the Morning Star Tower are the best magicians of the whole of Orient. Their insights are equally sharp. These white stars are the energy transmission and magic array of the tower. Where? Standing in the center of the 9-story tower, the surrounding walls are shining with a completely different constellation. This is really a feeling of being completely in the astrology, perfect for the arcane level of the Arcanist. Ziwei activated a switch, and the spell energy in the Morning Star Tower began to frantically. The surrounding nebula barriers began to fall slowly. The stars under everyone's feet flashed into solids, holding everyone up high and going straight into the clouds. Mongolian Call, Ziwei on the sky used a spell blessed by Ms. Silver Moon, and the original bright sky suddenly began to change into a night. The sun temporarily left the post in the sky, shining silver moon and The stars occupy the sky on the entire Violet Island, and the surrounding scenery has undergone tremendous changes. Against the backdrop of the silver moon and the stars, the dream level of the Morning Star Tower suddenly rises to a higher level. The crowds on the crowd have issued a neat exclamation. They can lift the sky like this in a short time. This is only the legendary caster power. At this time, 13 magicians stepped on the stars to shine, among the stars, so mysterious and noble. The following sorcerers and the students of the Violet Academy gradually stopped marveling and talking, and the entire island was once again calm. The era of Arcane is coming soon. With the release of the original issue of Arcane, I am very happy to find a large number of like-minded magician friends. We will work together for the truth of Arcane, on this beautiful day, in Violet Island. This beautiful island, I officially announced that the Arcane Review Committee was formally established. Ziwei's voice was not high and not very exciting, but it was clearly passed to the ears of every listener. They couldn't help but slap their hands and cheer for the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee. In particular, the students of the Violet Academy, under the organization of the Student Union Esmeralda, sounded a uniform applause. The Arcane Review Committee has a total of 15 seats. I am honored to have the support of everyone and become the chairman of the Arcane Review Club. The Lord of Change, Victor Hugo, and the Emperor Dela, will also join the Olympics. The Review Committee, serving as the honorary chairman of the committee. The scholar boss Anthony and Lord Blue Shadows Lannister will be the first members of the Arcane Review Committee. Because the number of arcanists is still too small, after deliberation with the 2 honorary chairmen, I decided to place the members of the Arcane Review Committee members 6 months later, and 10 members will be selected from all the arcans. 11 Wei's calm eyes glanced at everyone present, and the turmoil that had just risen in the crowd subsided. Hemmer, the vice-campus of the University of Copenhagen, Cesare Galli, the dean of the Venice School of Magic, and the first 2 witches of the blue and red, also shined in the eyes, failed to catch up with the original opportunity, but the Arcane Review Committee, the delayed selection obviously gave everyone a very good chance. Arcane will be issued once a month. During this half-year, all magicians who can publish papers in the Arcane Journal and volunteer to join us will become members of the Arcane Division. Next, I will award the first Arcane Masters in the world of Orient. Ziwei promoted the process very fast. Almost no magician likes to waste time, especially in the presence of so many magic masters and even legendary spells by. Anthony and Lannister looked at each other and opened up the magical things they carried with them. In the next moment, 2 faint phantoms appeared in the night of the stars at the same time. Their figures were very light. If they were not noticed under the stars, they were so powerful, just like the sun in the sky. It's as dazzling as silver moon, and it can't be ignored. A phantom figure is burly, a phantom is high and straight, it is the image of the spiritual master of the Change Master and the Emperor. Including Ziwei, there are people in the place who have performed a very grand mage ceremony on these 2 virtual shadows. This is a tribute to the brilliant achievements and great contributions made by each legendary magician in formal occasions. Without these legendary magicians who pioneered the new magic school, the magic theory of the Orient world could not develop to such a powerful position today that the magicians could not obtain the status of honor and glory as they are now. It's nice to meet everyone, Victor Hugo's spiritual body smiled and said. I am honored to attend the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the Arctic Masters Conference, Didala also said softly. The 2 then stood next to Ziwei. 11 Wei opened his hands and an arcane badge floated on his palm. This is the arcane badge. I set up the Zingai trial in it, which can sharpen the soul of the sublimation wearer. I added the Brave trial to the arcane badge to enhance the wearer's combat ability. Victor Hugo's Brave test in the arcane badge contains challenges from the 7th to the legendary magical creatures. Arcane masters can use mental power to enter the inside of the badge, and carry out very realistic combat exercises with these powerful enemies to enhance their actual combat capabilities. This is very important for some of the arcans. Unlike the warrior knights, the magicians are all researchers and scholars. Many people have very profound knowledge and master a lot of powerful spells, but they are life-threatening lives. In the fight, but panic, it is difficult to play real strength. However, courageous trials can help the Arcane solve this problem, and it is the great invention of Victor Hugo, the Lord of Change. I added a virtual lab to the Arcane badge, which perfectly simulates most of the magic experiments and provides near-complete casting techniques to help the Arcane reduce the time and cost of the experiment. This is from the Construction Queen Didala's gift. This gift is also very generous, belonging to the core mysteries and welfare of the School of Architecture. In this way, the Arcane badges that have been processed by the 5th and 7th methods of Sci-fi suddenly become such a powerful epic-level magical object, which even has an effect on the strength of the Arcane masters. Can be called the level of legendary magical things. Even for Boss Anthony or Blue Phantom Lannister, this Arcane badge still has very practical functions and good value. For those magic masters, this badge is very much needed. Features. The other magicians who watched the ceremony were all red eyes. Such a powerful Arcane badge, from the blessings of the West Victoria School and the 2 legendary magicians, full of glory and practical value, perfect magical things. How I want to have one myself. The first Arcane badge, awarded to the great change master, Lord Victor Hugo, the essence of the School of the Origin of Change in the publication of the Arcane inaugural issue. I deeply met the mysteries of some change schools, and I am interested in learning. The magician who changed the spells brought a lot of help and found a viable new direction for the development of the change school. The Arcane Review Committee awarded Victor Hugo Arcane points 10,000 and you will be promoted directly to the 7-star Arcane division. 10,000 points is the upper limit of the Arcane point that can be directly obtained by an Arcane thesis. If other orthopedics refer to the paper in their respective papers, they will also get the continuous Arcane point, although not more, but it is expensive, and it will be a large income as time goes by, far exceeding the number of 10,000 points. The setting of the Arcane points corresponding to the Arcane division level is still the same as the Arcane point. An Arcane score is a 1-star Arcane division, 1 is a 2-star Arcane division, an Arcane score is a Samsung Arcane division, and an Arcane score is a 5-star Arcane division. The 9-star Arcane Master needs 100,000 Arcane points, which is astronomical for the average Arcane Master, but for the legendary magicians of Victor Hugo and Daza, as long as they are willing, they will soon can be achieved. However, this is also the limit at present. For the title of Great Arcanist, Sci-fi is not open for the time being. He personally wants to get the title of the first Great Arcane Master instead of the 8th Law or No 9 Law. Victor Hugo's Phantom has taken over the Arcane badge handed down by Sci-fi and is carefully worn on his chest. Faced with everyone, he made a hearty laugh. Since I started the Change School and was called the Lord of Change, I looked around and seemed to have climbed the mountain. But today, I finally found another mountain worth climbing. The words of the Lord of Change make everyone smile with a smile, which is really a happy trouble. The second Arcane badge, belonging to the great Emperor Empress Dila, the distance between the world legendary spellcaster and the legendary magician that you published on the inaugural issue of Arcane is the first to reveal the legend. The mystery exists and the possible way forward, with incalculable great value, and cannot be copied. Therefore, the Arcane Review Committee grants Daza Arcane points 10,000, and you will be promoted directly to the 7-star Arcane Master. Dizala's Phantom is also happy to wear the Arcane badge on her chest. It seems that she likes the new identity of the 7-star Arcane Master has witnessed this scene, and someone at the venue is happy and glorious. Many other ideas have been born. Unexpectedly, the Lord of Change Victor Hugo and Construction Queen Didura not only actively ran for the Western Olympics Arcane Journals and Arcane Ideas, but also really joined the Arcane Review Committee directly. The award ceremony of the Arcanist. Not only that, the 2 titles of the legendary not only did not get the highest big Arcane Master title, even the 9-star Arcane division is not, just a small 7-star arcane master. This is the title of the legendary magician, whose name shines the fifth and seventh law of the entire Orient world for centuries or even centuries. But whether the Master of Change or the architecture of the Emperor accepts the title of the 7-star arcane master, this is enough. At this moment, some people at the place have finally come up with complex and expectation for the name Arcane Master. The thoughts come. With the forefront of the two legendary magicians, the award of the Arcane Masters is not so unacceptable. Boss Anthony and Blue Phantom Lannister's papers have won 1,000 arcane points, they also directly become a 5-star arcane master. Unexpectedly, however, in the ranks of the next 10 magic masters, there is actually one person's arcane points surpassing the boss scholars Anthony and Blue Phantom Lannister, two legendary lords. The 5th arcane badge, awarded to Lord Lavoisier, an in-depth analysis of the spellcasting materials you published on the Arcane inaugural issue clarifies the classification and use of most commonly used casting materials, and has made a deeper constructive exploration. The material elements and classifications mentioned are very research and practical, so the ARCA Review Committee awarded the Lavoisier Arcane points. You will be promoted directly to the 5-star Arcane Master, to be continued. Arcane Age. Author, Yulin Dudu. Chapter 606. Casting Materials. It can be said that every magician has been in contact since the apprenticeship. The presence of caster material greatly reduces the difficulty of casting spells, allowing wizards to cast the spells they need with less magic and cheaper. However, the search and configuration of the casting materials has not formed a systematic norm. Each magician has almost a recipe for the application of materials, but only lists the casting materials and corresponding spells. Master Lavoisier was the first magician who spent more than 10 years researching thousands of casting materials. He searched for the same and different differences through contrast experiments and invented material elements. This term is used to name more than 30 material elements that I have discovered. The study of casting materials is something that many magicians do not bother to do, because it will waste the precious teacher's precious time and life, but it does not help the magician's progress. Therefore, in the inaugural issue of the Arcane, the in-depth analysis of the cast material has received the least attention. The evaluation of the article is not very high, and few people are willing to analyze the paper in depth. However, the Arcane Review Committee actually gave the paper a full arcane score, even beyond the papers of the two legendary casters, which is very shocking to everyone. It turns out that the level of the arcane master is not single, and is purely based on the level of the magician. Even if you are just an ordinary magician, as long as your thesis is creative and pioneering, you can get a huge amount of arcane points. Rising on the rise. Lavoisier apparently did not think that he could directly become a 5-star arcane master with this thesis. Ziwei put the arcane badge on the Lavoisier's robe. Your paper is very good, your work. And the persistence has always been very valuable. The hair-white Lavoisier has a sore nose. He has always been a different kind of magician. He specializes in potions and his promotion to magic masters is very difficult. When he barely passed the test of the master's certificate, he knowing that it is almost impossible to be promoted to an 8-ring magician or a legendary caster, he has devoted all his time and energy to the exploration of the material elements of the microdomain in his favorite field of study. For 15 years, Master Lavoisier has made a lot of research results in this field. However, his research has not been paid attention to by anyone, and no one has ever made any slightest recognition of his efforts. The only place he can get some respect, seems to be to teach the students of the Royal Academy of Magic in France to deploy a variety of magical agents, but because of his eccentric personality, fewer and fewer students are willing to follow him. However, after 15 years have passed, the emergence of Arcane has finally brought light to his research work. The expectation of Ziwei's in-depth exploration of the micro-world mentioned in the opening message of the Arcane is always the master of Lavoisier. In the research done, his thesis was recognized by the changer Victor Hugo and was directly recommended to Ziwei. Ziwei is highly appraised for the in-depth analysis of Lavoisier's casting materials. This is a very Australian spirit. Ziwei's energy is limited, he can't be at all. The field is standing at the forefront of research. So many magicians in the world of Orient, the future archons will be the main force for deep exploration of the world. Ziwei will only choose the most valuable, self-professional, and good field to explore, and extract the most valuable field, the crown of the pearl. It is enough, the cornerstone and building of the magnificent arcane hall. You need more. The arcanist is coming to add bricks and tiles. The next few masters of the magic masters got the arcane points from point to point, and they were awarded the titles of Samsung and the 4-star arcane master. The 14th arcane badge, awarded to Miss Christine Phillips, the core construction and model analysis of artificial intelligence automatic casting, published in the Arcane inaugural issue, explores the new possibilities of the development of artificial intelligence in the construction school. The development of the school points to a new research direction, and the field of artificial intelligence is very useful. Therefore, the Arcane Review Committee awards the Kristen Arcane points, and you will be promoted directly to the 4-star Arcane. The appearance of different levels of the Arcane badge is different. The 4-star Arcane Master corresponds to 4 stars. The snow-white dress of Christine's cheeks on both sides of the cheeks, with excitement, went to the front of Ziwei. She was originally a beautiful woman in the country, and with a strong natural charm, now surrounded by stars, silver moon shines, silver hair beauty Christine becomes so shining, almost instantly attracted almost all human gaze. Of the 15 arcane divisions who received the first batch of today's awards, there were only 2 women, and the other was the Front Emperor Didura, who was present with the image, who would not be the 7th law. There is a slight disrespect. However, the only female magic master tonight is also the title of the 14th arcanist Kristen, and everyone has given the warmest applause. 11 Wei personally put on the 4-star arcane badge for Christine. The smile on his face is very gentle. Just like this cool water moonlight, watching the friends around him step by step without being completely thrown by themselves. This feeling is really warm and very comfortable. Christine wore a 4-star arcane badge and turned around to pay tribute to the images of the 12 orthodox and 2 legendary magicians. This returned to his own nebula disc. On. Everyone is holding their breath. This time the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the meeting of the Arcanists has reached the end, but there is still one person who has not received his own arcane badge, that is the founder of Arcane. The first 14 Arcanists in the world of Orient around the Westville. His eyes swept through everyone in the crowd, and then Ziwei once again said, "Please forgive my waywardness, I am the most. The number I like is 0. So the number of the arcane badge I prepared for myself is 0. There was a chuckle in the audience. Obviously, in the identity of Ziwei and his contribution, at least the 3rd arcane badge should be obtained instead of the 15th. Everyone was surprised at this. Before, I did not expect Ziwei actually left the 0 arcane badge. Anyone who knows the existence of Professor Zero has revealed a thoughtful expression. For such a glorious occasion for Ziwei tonight, 0 did not appear. In fact, this moment is being the closest soul link with Ziwei. This is what Ziwei insisted. He has come to the Orient world for more than a year. He can go to the step and establish an arcane. The power of the division sends out the sound of arcane in the whole world, and all successes are inseparable from 0. Therefore, Ziwei wants to share this lofty glory with 0, and the 0 arcane badge is just to commemorate 0. I want to invite the most beautiful arcane masters to give me a title. Ziwei once again opened, and the Morning Star Tower was filled with a relaxed and pleasant atmosphere. In the active laughter of the crowd, the silver-haired beauty Christine swayed her legs and walked to the front of Ziwei with her cheeks. A card and an arcade badge appeared directly in her palm. Christine took a deep breath and picked up the card and used his sweet voice to read the last line of the last arcane master, the 0 arcane badge, awarded to Mr. Westway Frost. You are in the Arcane in the first issue of the new field of electromagnetic induction element school, the expansion of the magical model of the 5-theorem protection school application exploration, a total of 7 papers, covering the electromagnetic protection changes mathematics summons the space of the 7 major areas of blood, very groundbreaking and inspiring, the magic field. It will be further expanded as a result, so the Arcane Review Committee will award the total number of Arcane points in the West, and you will be promoted directly to the 7-star Arcane. As long as you get the Arcane points, you can be promoted to the 8-star Arcane Master. The West's Arcane points are not much more, but less. Although his 7 papers are not as important and valuable as the 2 legendary magicians, if the 7 papers are completed by other magicians, each of the 5 papers is worth 5,000. Up to 8,000 points. In this way, Ziwei will directly receive more than 40,000 arcane points, and become an 8-star arcane master, but also directly press 2 titles of legendary magician. Although perhaps the Master of Change or the Emperor will not mind, but this will inevitably give the world the impression that Ziwei is too arrogant, and adversely affect the development of Arcane and Arcane Division organizations. In any case, Ziwei also sources a large number of valuable papers. As long as the 2 legendary magicians do not compete with him on the Arcane points must not catch up with Ziwei. Therefore, Ziwei was not in a hurry. He lowered the weight of the 7 papers and finally got the Arcane points. He became a 7-star Arcanist alongside 2 legendary magicians. Christine wears the sparkling 7-star Arcane badge on the chest of Ziwei with her delicate white fingers. She has done this simple job very seriously, just like in the most important occasion in the experience of life. After Christine returned to his nebula disk, the first 15 Arcanists in the world of Elunt got their own Arcane badges, and the dream of Ziwei finally came out with a very solid first step. Thank you very much for coming to Violet Island, witnessing the establishment of the Arcane Review Committee and the awarding ceremony of the first Orient Masters of Orient. As the owner, I have a gift for everyone, I hope you can like it. Wei spread his hands and shouted. His voice just fell, and the stars in the night sky suddenly dropped red, green, yellow, and blue-colored rainwater. Each drop of water contained rich elements and magical powers, with a fascinating scent of people. The colored rain slowly falls, and it falls on everyone's face. In the palm of your hand, the rain directly transforms into an element, which is integrated into everyone's body and heart lake. This is the new spell element Gangxi, which was researched by Ziwei after the most in-depth exploration of the elemental school. It is an improved version of the Smoth that was used at the foot of the snow mountain. Human beings do not have the natural magical affinity like the Smurfs. Therefore, Ziwei has added carefully cultivated violets. The improved elemental rain is more suitable for humans to absorb and transform, which can effectively enhance the magical elements and their own magic level. The elements and magic in the rain of these elements are so rich, especially for those low-level magicians, it is a blessing. Among all the audience present, the lowest level of the magician is undoubtedly the students of the Violet Academy. Most of them are only magic apprentices, a few are low-level magicians of 1 or 2 rings. The rain of elements of the sky has nourished everyone, and instantly moistened their originally small and dry heart lake. The heart lake swelled like a balloon, and the magic increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. Almost instantly, there are several high-level magic apprentices who have reached the magical realm directly, and can be promoted to the official magician through the magician promotion ceremony. The standard magic of other magic apprentices also has a very large increase, they can top their meditation for a few months, and more importantly, the rain of these elements also improves their elemental affinity, for the violets that use the 4 elements to think about the door. For students, this is far more rewarding than magic. For the guests who are already official magicians, the magical rains that come from farther from all over the world, the rain of elemental rain is an unexpected surprise. There is no magician for magic power. Dislike, the improvement of elemental affinity is even more ecstatic. For a time, the entire Morning Star Tower is filled with the fragrant fragrance of violet, which is refreshing and meaningful. Of course, this gift is not even a drizzle for the first 2 seats of the Qinghai School of Cesare, and they are still silent in the rain of elements of this day. If such a powerful effect is sold through magical pharmacy, it is absolutely fought by countless magicians. It is just the rain of this element, and its value is probably at least the last epic magical thing. The consumption of Zaiwei was not as large as the guests imagined, but the rain of this element almost exhausted all the violet flowers cultivated in the first batch of Arcane Garden, affecting the configuration of the violet medicine within 3 months. But in terms of the cost and the impact and effect, it is nothing at all. To be continued.